Imagine a 70-ton beast that doesn't roar like a tank, but hisses like a jet. It's powered by a turbine engine, protected by secret Chobham armor, and capable of picking off targets 3 miles away while moving at full speed. This is the M1 Abrams, the apex predator of the armored world. Born from the fear of a Soviet tidal wave, it became the gold standard of the 21st century. Today, we're looking at the tank that redefined lethality and why, after 40 years, it still holds the throne of the modern battlefield. The story of the M1 Abrams began in the 1970s, during a time of deep anxiety for the U.S. Army. The Vietnam War had exhausted the military, while the Soviet Union was churning out thousands of T-64 and T-72 tanks that outclassed the aging American M60. The United States needed a quantum leap in technology, a tank that could fight outnumbered and still win. After the ambitious but failed MBT-70 project with West Germany, Chrysler Defense stepped up with a radical design. It was a machine built on 3 pillars: unprecedented speed, high-tech sensors, and a level of crew survivability that the world had never seen before. The most controversial and revolutionary choice in the M1's design was its engine. While every other tank in the world relied on a traditional diesel motor, the Abrams was fitted with the AGT 1500 gas turbine. This engine was essentially a jet engine for the ground, providing 1,500 horsepower in a compact, quiet package. It earned the Abrams the nickname Whispering Death, because it was remarkably silent until it was right on top of the enemy. This turbine allowed a 60-ton monster to accelerate like a sports car, giving it a tactical mobility that left Soviet designs in the dust and allowed for the high-speed blitzkrieg maneuvers that would later shock the world. Protection for the Abrams was built around a top-secret British invention, Chobham armor. This was a composite sandwich of ceramics, steel, and other materials that provided incredible resistance against both kinetic shells and chemical energy heat rounds. Unlike the simple steel plates of the past, this composite armor was designed to break up incoming projectiles before they could penetrate the hull. For the first time in history, a tank was built that could reliably survive a direct hit from the most powerful anti-tank missiles of its era, turning the Abrams into an iron fortress that the enemy simply couldn't crack. Crew survivability was the soul of the Abrams design. The American engineers realized that the greatest weakness of Soviet tanks was their tendency to pop their turrets when hit, killing the crew instantly. To prevent this, the Abrams featured a revolutionary blowout panel system. The ammunition was stored in a separate compartment behind a heavy sliding armored door. If the ammo was hit and exploded, the blast would be vented upward through the roof of the turret, away from the crew. This meant that an Abrams could be destroyed, but its soldiers would walk away alive, a philosophy of war that prioritized human life over expensive steel. The firepower of the initial M1 relied on the 105mm M68 rifled gun, but the real magic was in its fire control system. The Abrams was the first tank to truly master the hunter-killer concept. With a laser rangefinder, a ballistics computer, and a stabilized turret, the Abrams could fire accurately while bouncing across rugged terrain at 30 miles per hour. It didn't matter how fast the enemy moved or how dark the night was. The Abrams' thermal sights could see through smoke, dust, and total darkness, turning the battlefield into a shooting gallery where the Americans always saw the enemy first and hit them with the first shot. When the M1 Abrams officially entered service in 1980, it was met with skepticism. Critics complained it was too expensive, too complex, and that its turbine engine would drain too much fuel. But the Army knew they had something special. The Abrams was a high-performance weapon for a high-tech age, a machine that required a professional, well-trained crew to unleash its full potential. It was the first of a new breed of main battle tanks, a 20th-century knight in composite armor that was ready to face the massive armies of the Warsaw Pact in the plains of Europe, should the Cold War ever turn hot. The true baptism of fire for the Abrams came in 1991 during Operation Desert Storm. After a decade of training, the M1A1, now upgunned with the lethal 120mm German-designed smoothbore cannon, faced off against the world's fourth-largest army in the deserts of Iraq. Many analysts expected a bloody, grinding tank war with heavy American losses. Instead, they witnessed the most lopsided armored victory in human history. The Abrams didn't just beat the Iraqi T-72s, it deleted them. In the vast, open desert, the Abrams thermal sights allowed American crews to spot Iraqi tanks through sandstorms and darkness at ranges where the Iraqis couldn't even see the Americans. The Battle of 73 Easting remains a masterclass in Abrams lethality. In a blinding sandstorm, the 2nd Armored Cavalry Regiment stumbled upon an elite Iraqi Republican Guard division. In just 23 minutes, a handful of Abrams tanks destroyed over 50 Iraqi tanks and dozens of APCs without losing a single vehicle. The American tankers were firing through the dust, hitting Iraqi targets from over 2,500 meters away. The Iraqis were literally blind, unable to see where the incoming fire was coming from. It wasn't a battle, it was a mechanical execution that proved the Abrams was a generational leap ahead of anything else on Earth. One of the most famous legends of the Abrams emerged during the Gulf War, its near invincibility. In multiple incidents, Abrams tanks were hit by Iraqi fire, and in many cases, by friendly fire from other Abrams. In one famous case, an Abrams got stuck in the mud and was targeted by other M1s to prevent capture. After taking several 120mm hits, the tank was still largely intact, and the cruise compartment remained safe. This confirmed the incredible strength of the Chobham armor and the depleted uranium mesh that had been added to the M1A1HA models. The Abrams had become a mythological beast that seemed impossible to kill. The gas turbine engine, once criticized for its fuel hunger, proved to be a massive tactical advantage in the desert. The high-speed dash across the Iraqi desert, known as the left hook, was only possible because the Abrams could maintain high speeds for hours on end. While the heat of the desert destroyed traditional diesel engines, the turbine thrived. The logistical challenge was immense, thousands of fuel trucks had to follow the tanks, but the result was worth it. The Abrams could appear in the Iraqi rear before their command could even react, proving that in modern war, speed and silence are just as important as armor and fire. The Iraqi T-72 crews, many of whom were veterans of the Iran-Iraq War, were horrified to find that their shells couldn't even scratch the front of an Abrams. Even at point-blank range, the Soviet-made Sabo rounds failed to penetrate the American composite armor. Meanwhile, the American M829 silver bullet rounds, made of high-density depleted uranium, were slicing through the Iraqis like hot knives through butter. It was a total technological dominance that shattered the morale of the Iraqi army, leading to thousands of soldiers abandoning their tanks and surrendering the moment they heard the high-pitched hiss of an approaching Abrams. By the end of the 100-hour ground war, the Abrams had established its legend. Only 9 Abrams tanks were destroyed during the conflict, and none were lost to enemy tank fire. Every loss was due to mines or friendly fire, and in almost every case, the crews survived. Desert Storm transformed the M1 from a controversial project into a symbol of American military invincibility. The world had seen what happens when high-tech engineering meets a professional army, and the Abrams was the iron tip of that spear, a sovereign of the sand that had redefined the very nature of armored combat. After the open desert of the 90s, the 2003 invasion of Iraq and the subsequent insurgency presented the Abrams with its most difficult challenge yet: urban warfare. The thunder runs into Baghdad showed the tank's power, but the years of insurgency that followed forced the Abrams to adapt to a world of IEDs, RPGs, and narrow streets. A tank designed to fight other tanks now had to fight invisible enemies in windows and alleyways. This led to the development of the Tusk kit, the Tank Urban Survival Kit, adding reactive armor to the sides, a remote-controlled machine gun for the commander, and a telephone on the back so infantry could talk to the crew. The evolution of the Abrams continued with the System Enhancement Packages, or SEP. These upgrades turned the M1A2 into a digital warfighter. The tank was fitted with second and third generation thermal sights, a fully digital command and control system, and a blue force tracker that allowed crews to see the position of every friendly unit on a digital map. The Abrams was no longer an isolated vehicle, it was a node in a massive information network. A commander could now identify a target, share its coordinates with an F-16 or an artillery battery, and watch the target disappear without ever firing a shot. One of the most significant upgrades in the M1A2 SEPv3 and SEPv4 versions is the focus on power management and auxiliary power units. Because the turbine engine consumes so much fuel even when idling, The new Abrams versions have separate small engines just to run the electronics while the main turbine is off. This allows the tank to sit in a silent watch mode, watching the battlefield with its sensors without making a sound or generating a massive heat signature. It made the Abrams a more efficient and even more dangerous ambush predator, capable of hiding in plain sight for days at a time. Protection also reached a new level with the integration of active protection systems, specifically the Israeli-made Trophy system. This technology uses small radars to detect incoming anti-tank missiles and launches a shotgun of metal pellets to intercept and destroy the missile before it even touches the tank. With Trophy, the Abrams finally had an answer to the modern threat of ATGMs and drones that have made traditional armor so vulnerable. It combined the brute strength of its composite hull with a high-tech energy shield, making it one of the most protected environments on any modern battlefield. The weight of the Abrams has continued to grow with every upgrade, now pushing over 73 tons. This has brought back the old criticisms: is it too heavy for bridges? Is it too hard to transport? But the U.S. Army maintains that the trade-off is worth it. The extra weight comes from the layers of armor and electronics that keep the crew alive. In the era of the Javelin and the Cornet, having the most advanced protection is not a luxury, it is a necessity. The Abrams remains a heavyweight boxer, slow to get to the ring, but almost impossible to knock down once the fight begins. Throughout its service in the 21st century, the Abrams has proven that it is more than just a weapon of the Cold War. It has fought in the mountains of Afghanistan, the streets of Fallujah, and the deserts of Syria. It has been exported to allies around the world, from Australia to Poland and Saudi Arabia. Each nation that operates the Abrams joins an elite club of armored power. The M1 has become the standard bearer of Western armor, a machine that represents the peak of what is possible when you combine heavy industrial power with the world's most advanced digital technology. The most recent and high-stakes chapter in the Abrams legend is its deployment to the battlefields of Ukraine. As part of the Western aid to counter the Russian invasion, the arrival of the M1A1SA Abrams marked a historic moment, the first time the American sovereign would face a modern Russian army in a full-scale conventional war. For Ukraine, the Abrams is not just a tank, it is a sledgehammer designed to break through the densest Russian defensive lines. Its superior optics and crew protection offer a massive advantage over the Soviet-era T-72s and T-80s that dominate the conflict. The war in Ukraine has presented the Abrams with a new and lethal threat, the FPV drone. In a world where a $500 drone can destroy a $10 million tank, the Abrams has had to adapt once again. Ukrainian crews have been seen adding cages and electronic warfare jammers to their Abrams to counter the drone threat. This evolution on the fly shows the resilience of the platform. The Abrams wasn't built for drones, but its robust design allows it to be modified for this new kind of invisible warfare, proving that a 40-year-old design can still thrive in the drone-saturated skies of the 2020s. Looking beyond Ukraine, the U.S. Army is already planning the next generation, the M1E3. This project aims to strip away the bloat of the last 40 years and create a lighter, more agile Abrams. The goal is to keep the lethal 120mm gun and the incredible electronics but reduce the weight to make it easier to deploy across the Pacific or Europe. The M1E3 will likely feature a hybrid electric engine, an autoloader to reduce the crew size, and even more advanced AI to help the commander manage the chaos of the battlefield. The king is not retiring, it is going to the gym to become faster and leaner. The enduring legacy of the M1 Abrams is its incredible adaptability. It has survived the end of the Cold War, the rise of asymmetric warfare, and the birth of the drone age. It has outlasted its rivals and remained the benchmark by which every other tank is measured. Its design philosophy, protect the crew at all costs, has become the standard for every modern Western tank. The Abrams is not just a piece of military hardware, it is a testament to American engineering and the belief that the best way to prevent a war is to be the most dangerous thing on the battlefield. Today, standing next to an Abrams, you feel the weight of its history. It is a massive, imposing machine that breathes heat and radiates power. It doesn't look like a relic, it looks like the future. From the whispering death of 1991 to the digital sovereign of today, the Abrams has remained the ultimate tool of American foreign policy. It is the big stick that ensures that whenever U.S. interests are threatened, there is a 70-ton answer waiting in the shadows, ready to strike with a level of precision and fury that no other machine can match. In the final analysis, the M1 Abrams is a magnificent success of the industrial age. It was a tank that everyone said was too complex to work, yet it became the most reliable and lethal weapon in history. It proved that in the theater of war, quality, technology, and crew protection are the keys to victory. As the Abrams prepares for its next 40 years, its legend continues to grow. It remains the Iron Sovereign, the king of tanks, and the ultimate guardian of the free world. The hiss of the turbine is the sound of the modern era, and the Abrams is the machine that writes its history,